Sing with me, sing for the year, sing for the laughter, sing for the tear, sing with me. If it's just for today, maybe tomorrow, the good Lord will take you away. That is an outstanding, famous quote from Aerosmith song Dream On from the 1973 album self-titled. So Aerosmith. Awesome song. Joe told me about it today, a lyric that we should use it on today's show. So I said, why not? How you doing today, Joe?
Not bad, Sean. How you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. I mean, I had a long couple days of work. Basically worked the past, since yesterday afternoon, I worked about 20 hours. And then, up till 7:30 tonight, about 20 hours and, the span of X amount of hours. And I got like 2 hours of sleep, and
Oy.
it's been a grind these past couple of days at work. But, what got you thinking about that song, the Aerosmith song, the lyric?
I was talking to someone the other day, and they're talking about how they worry so much, and I've been called throughout my life, and it's true. I've been called a worry wart. That I'm the one of these what if kind of guys. What if this? What if that? Oh my! And it's just one of those things that worry can consume you. And how does it relate to this thing of Aerosmith? It's just one of those lyrics that at the end of the day, he said, never tomorrow or the good Lord could take you away. It's just a reminder of how quickly, we've spoken about it before, and we're not going to revisit, people can be taken at an early age, and even the people that are older, they're older, but they're healthy. And all of a sudden you hear one day that they're gone. It's just such a fragile thing, this life, the days that we have here. And it just reminded me of how silly and illogical worrying really is. And even though we know this, we know that it's silly and it's illogical, we still do it. And it just led me into that. And I'm not saying everybody play Aerosmith when they're worried or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that lyric just reminded me, sing with me, sing for the year, sing for the laughter, sing for the tear. Sing with me, it's just for today. Never tomorrow, the good Lord could take you away. And go ahead.
I think it's maybe tomorrow, not never tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. I just say maybe. Okay. Well, yeah, that's okay. I appreciate it. But you get the point.
Yeah. No, I just
That
want to clarify because it's, they're phenomenal lyrics, and, we don't want to
exactly.
confuse them, but also, sometimes with lyrics, you hear things differently. So, it's one of those, I do it all the time with lyrics. I make up my own fucking words, for their words and stuff like that. But,
It's okay. The gist of it is there, though. You get me. And it's just one of those things that when we worry, what we need to do, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this, one trick, or not trick, it's a remedy that can help, because everyone does it to different levels, right? But everyone suffers from worry. One of the things that you can do as a tool is you can develop a little mental stopgap, if you will, a little mental. And the one I was telling you about before is this little mental stop sign. Whenever I start and I catch myself starting to worry about something, and then it starts getting worse and it's snowballing, an imaginary stop sign held up, a red regular traffic stop sign. And that stop sign, you put it up there mentally, and hey, stop it. Stop. Just take a breather, slow down, relax, whatever that little mental trick is to catch yourself. But the trick is catching yourself in it and realizing. See, it's a certain awareness you have to have, but it's just something that, I really felt like I wanted to, and no one's saying, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Do whatever you want. Just live for today. No one's saying that. That's not what we're saying. We're saying is that old saying that, yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery. Live in the present, live for today.
Yeah, I feel like that's an Eleanor Roosevelt, very famous quote. I love that quote.
Yeah, and there's a book. One of your guys, Dale Carnegie, wrote a book. As a youngster, 18, 19, 20, my mother gave it to me, because even then I was, worried. But it was called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And it was by Dale Carnegie, one of your guys, right? One of your favorite. And in that book, he spoke about a concept called a day-tight chamber. He said, you got to live in day tight chambers. And you say, what the hell are you talking about? Day tight chamber? Well, no. Imagine you're looking at tomorrow and you see a door coming down, like a garage door, and it shuts that down. And then you're looking back at yesterday and you see a garage door coming down, it shuts that down. Okay. Don't worry about what's beyond those doors. Just worry about the little box that you're in, and everything else will take care of itself. It was just a neat concept. And I don't know. How do you feel about, has worry ever gotten the best of you?
Yeah, I tend to constantly think about everything and every scenario and the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, because it's one of those things. If you can expect the worst, you can expect the best. Hope for the best type of situation. But no, I mean, my mind is just naturally always thinking and always analyzing and always, that's why I was in law school for a little bit, because my whole life it's like, what can I do? What am I good at? What can I use my mind for? What skill set do I have to apply to a career that can earn a living, to raise a family and things like that? But my mind is constantly thinking. I'm 36 now, so I'll be thinking about all sorts of stuff. When friends, they have, announce a new baby, I'm like, man, they're having another baby. And like, I'm not even married. I mean, the idea of having a kid is so foreign to me right now, because it's like, I have to find love first. I got to find a girl. So I think about deep things like that, like finding true love and wanting that companionship, and wanting that intimacy. Because I see couples holding hands, and I think back to relationships in the past, but holding hands and cuddling and things like that. And I don't have that in my life right now. I know I'm getting a little bit off track here with talking about romance and stuff, but the answer to your question is, yeah, my mind is always thinking, like I said, about the worst thing that could happen, the best thing that could happen, what could have happened. I do a lot of hypotheticals. I have one friend who kind of gets like mad at me sometimes because I keep bringing up hypotheticals. And he's like, man, I hate hypotheticals. I don't want to live in hypotheticals. And I'm constantly, asking questions about hypotheticals. I'm like, if so-and-so, it's like, if Tony Romo was the quarterback for the Patriots instead of Brady, and Brady was for the Cowboys, and Belichick was with the all that type of random sports things. And I'm just always doing hypotheticals. And my mind is always doing what ifs, like you said.
What ifs? I was just going to say, you took
Yeah,
the
what
words
if
right.
I did this? What if I did that? Where would I be today? And what if I, these decisions? And, it's like the movie, The Butterfly Effect, with Ashton Kutcher, a famous, old school movie, I believe from the early 2000s. Every little decision's like a butterfly. It's like the wings of a butterfly. Every little action can change reality. That can
Yeah.
change everything around your life. Just every little decision you make. So that type of deep thinking and knowing that life is, the type of thing where like every little decision can really, alter life and alter the whole world as we know it. Everybody matters, and every decision they make matters. It comes together in this whole algorithm of the universe. And I'm going off track here, but we'll talk about these on future podcasts, obviously. But to answer your question, Joe, yes, I do tend to think a lot. It's not necessarily worrying. I want to have my mental health. I want to always have a clear mind and be focused and making the right decisions and be really on top of my game and be sharp. So, I do worry about things and different, health conditions. And, I don't want to get COVID, obviously. I don't want to get the flu.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to get cancer.
Mhm.
I don't want to have a heart attack, serious things like that too. So, I mean, how about you?
Of course. And like I said, I was, it's at an early age. I mean, mom said, hey, why don't you read this book? And this, because I was always like that. And man, I think man in general, the humans in general, it's part of our nature. French philosopher and essayist, Michel is the way they pronounce it. I would say Michel, but it's Michel, Michel. Montaigne wrote, and he wrote, my life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which have never happened. And this was written 500 years ago, right? So my life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which have never happened. So he worried a lot about what if this, oh my God, catastrophe here, catastrophe there. And this is a cat who's, 500 years ago, and a pretty smart fella. I mean, intellect doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not, a lot of things are irrational, but it's just something that can take you over, and it's a serious, serious thing. And I wonder sometimes if they're going to find out years from now that there's some kind of a hereditary thing. I don't know, but let me tell you this little story about my father. My father, and I said this before, my father developed Alzheimer's disease, but he developed it later in life. So this is during a time that he was fully clear. He was about maybe 65 at the time. He didn't develop Alzheimer's for another 10 to 12 years. Okay. So he was fully coherent, but he had this worry thing a lot like I did. And I lived with Pop. I lived with my parents for a while. That's something that I have no problem with either. I'm the youngest. I love being there, and they love having me there. But this was one time I can remember. He was about 65, and it was one of these things where I had a job and I was up, working like the late shift or whatever. So I would also come home from work and then be up watching TV late. Right? 2, 3, 3:30 in the morning, I would hit the rack. And he would normally go up, and there were a couple sections to the house, but where I was, in the section I was, he would open the door every night, and he just holler into me, "I'm going up. Hey, I'm going up," just to let me know he was going up. It's something that he did with his family when he was growing up. Everybody, you let each other know, "I'm going up." Okay. Well, this was around midnight. He went up. "Okay, Pop. Good night. See you tomorrow." And I'm watching TV. And it's 2:00, maybe 2:30. And I'm getting ready to go out to the kitchen to get a glass of iced tea or something. I was beverage or whatever. And I go out, and he's sitting in the dark in the living room, just sitting there, biting his thumbnail and looking like out the front window. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? He scared me almost, because I was not expecting to see him sitting there. I'm walking through a dark room, right? And I see him sitting there, and I know he went up a couple hours ago. And I said, "Hey." He goes, "Hey." I said, "What are you doing? What's going on?" He goes, "I'm sitting here." I said, "Why?" And he just said, looked me right in the eye, and he said with a serious look in his eye, he says, "I'm waiting for the fire to start." And he was dead serious. Somehow he was nervous or very jittery about, he always had a thing about, before he went to bed. He got me into this habit. Before he went to bed every night, he went around to every room, checked every appliance, just looked, that plugged in, that's unplugged. Okay, this looks good, which is actually a good thing. But he did that every night before he would go to bed. But apparently this night, he went to bed, and he decided to get up because he just didn't feel right about something or other. And he was sitting in the living room, and he wasn't joking. He was just kind of jittery that tonight might be the night of all nights that some fire starts in the house. But this is my point. And after a while, he went back up to bed or whatever. But this is my point, that worry can really get you. And I think it can really, we like to joke. I joke, and that's a funny story, but it's a true story. But how uncomfortable worry and anxiety can get you. And like I said before, we can develop these little tricks for ourselves, these little remedies to help ourselves through. But also, I wanted to bring something to the forefront about anxiety and about worry and about things like this. I think that we have to work on lifting the stigma of people going to therapy, right? Therapy, you wouldn't give a stigma to somebody for bringing their car to the mechanic once a year to get checked over. You wouldn't give someone a stigma to go to the dentist once every 18 months to get a checkup, even if things are running well, even if you don't have any dental pain, right? Why would you give someone a stigma if they went once every 3 months or once every 6 months to therapy just to talk and just to sort things out? And people do it. It's a healthy thing to do. But unfortunately, we still live, it's getting a little better recently, I notice, but we still live in a society that will stigmatize people that go for therapy. And that's just if everything's working out, just to go for a checkup.
I think it's changing, though. I don't want to interrupt you, but
It's
I think
okay.
it's changing because therapy to me was always like, oh, you're weak. You're mentally weak. Why do you need to tell this stranger all your problems? And why are they going to help you by telling you some advice or whatever? And why do you want to lay in a couch, and just, have them psychoanalyze you?
The stigma.
But
Right.
yeah, but I've been listening to the Howard Stern show, for at least 20 years. And he always talks about how beneficial therapy is and how it's helped him immensely. And I've heard it and listened to the show and how he's evolved. Obviously, he's aging, but therapy has helped him immensely. Like, I think he's generally like a happier and nicer person and
Hmm.
more well thought out because therapy. And he never misses a moment to promote therapy. He talks about it with his guests, all these celebrities and such. They talk about how therapeutic therapy is, how great it is. And that's just a guy like that is one of my heroes, speaking so openly and candidly about therapy. Made me rethink therapy because it was like, oh, that's for weak people. Then I heard him talking about it. I'm like, no, actually. But then there's shows in HBO where you can like view people's like therapy sessions. It's called like In Treatment, I think.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
seen the whole series, but it's like a scripted show of just a therapist and a patient. And they have different patients, and every episode's about the patient. You're literally just watching a therapy session. Um, but I've recently begun to think about going to therapy myself.
As have I.
It's gonna be
I've
about
begun to think
time.
about it too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm 36 and I'm at a crossroads in my life in different regards, and I want just a professional to give me some advice and listen to me instead of me telling all my problems to my friends and annoying them. I have new health insurance, and I should be able to find a good therapist.
Yes.
And I'm glad you brought it up because I absolutely am going to be going to therapy, and I think everybody could benefit from it. It doesn't have to be a broken person who goes to therapy, you
That's the
know?
whole thing. I said that's why I use the analogy of even a car that's running right, you bring to the shop every 6 months or so just to get it looked over. So even if there are no problems, just go into someone on a somewhat of a regular basis, not every week, not whatever the case may be. If things are going right in your life, maybe once a month you pop in, maybe once every other month. So even if things are going right, just to go in for a checkup and to make sure, just to make sure you're okay and you're feeling better. And here's a good thing that a lot of people don't realize this either. A lot of the therapists, whether it be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or there are different, there are all different kinds of people that can provide
Yeah, I
therapy at
think
their.
psychiatrist is for like just prescribing medicine and diagnosing an illness. And I think psychologist is like the actual like therapist who's going to sit there and like talk to you and give you like real tangible advice.
Well, you're close
Um,
because what's the difference is the psychiatrist that person can write you a legal prescription, but they both provide therapy. The thing that separates them is the psychiatrist can actually write you a prescription, but they both can provide therapy. Uh, so that's just the distinction is the ability and the of legality to write you a prescription. So the psychiatrist can write you a script. The psychologist can't write you a script. They cannot, but either of them can provide very good professional therapy. So, but what I wanted to bring out here is a lot of people aren't aware of is that those folks, Sean, let's say Dr. Stevens, right? Just for a random name. Dr. Stevens is a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, either one. Sees maybe 50 patients a week. That Dr. Stevens will go see a Dr. Edwards once a month as a patient to go in and talk to him and to get a lot of things off his chest and to process a lot of things. So even therapists, especially therapists, go for therapy. A lot of people aren't aware of that. I think that's important to
well,
bring out.
I think it's very important. And I'm not surprised at that because they're professionals and they know the value that they bring to the table. And they know they have blind spots and they can't be their own therapist. They need a third party and a neutral person to really evaluate them. And they're practicing what they preach by going to therapy, I think.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I just think it's important that we bring that out. And if anyone's listening, please, if it just listen, if things are going right, you may want to think about, well, maybe I should. But if you're at all have any discomfort with anything, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate at all. Go out and talk to a professional and just get a little advice, get a little of this and a little of that without worrying about any stigma. Don't hesitate a bit. That's all I'm trying to bring out with that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you shared a little bit of insights and stories about your father, because I just was reading the news and there's a potential new Alzheimer's drug. It's experimental. It's called lecanemab, Lecanemab. It's a weird name, but all pharmaceutical drugs seem to be very strange names.
Yeah.
Um, it says they're in phase 3. Phase 2 wasn't great, but phase 3 is showing promising results, reducing cognitive and functional decline by 27%. And it's one of those things. It can help people live normal lives for longer and be around their family and participate in daily life and live a little bit more independently before they completely like lose their mind. So I'm
Okay.
wondering, like, when you see drugs like this, are you kind of happy? Because I know your dad passed from this horrible disease, but are you like, does it hit home for you? Like, man, they're really working hard on this, like a new drugs to really cure this.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, I caught a little bit on the news in passing, and from what I'm hearing from you is the words "slow the decline." So it's not a cure of any means. It's not a prevention, but what it is it's a remedy to slow down. It's like sliding down a sliding board. All right. You don't want to slide down too quickly. If you have this thing, you want to slide down. If it's your last slide down, you want to slide down slowly. So it slows the decline once you already have it. But anything is good. Yeah, anything is good. I'm encouraged by that. Fortunately for Pop, by the time he got it, he was, much older. He was, he was, he was close to 80. When it first got to him. Some folks get it, Sean. This thing, I'll tell you a little story. I was at the facility where I had to put my father in a facility eventually. I had him for 4.5 years, and it reached the point where I was just like carrying him from room to room physically because it had just taken him, it had taken his mind quite a couple of years back, but I was still able to manage. But it was just a point where it even started to get him physically, and I was carrying him from room to room. So I had to put him in a place. It was a good place. But I was sitting there, speaking to a couple of the nurses that work there and run the place. And we were in a little conference room type thing. And these are for people, this facility where I took them was for people who only were suffering from dementia. Okay. So the whole building, and these folks are human beings. They have to be able to walk around if they could. Some of them couldn't, like Pop was in a wheelchair by then, because like I said, he lost his mobility by then, but a lot of them were still able to walk around and wander, and they do it right. They have locks on the doors and but they let them walk around the facility at random, which is healthy for them. We don't want to, tie them down or do anything like that. And I'm sitting there in a conference room with a couple of these nurses, and the one nurse says to me, "Oh, Betty's out there. Do you mind if she walks through?" I said, and she was one of the patients. So a woman maybe about 50 years old, maybe late 40s. And, she says, "Do you mind if she walks through here?" So I said, "No, of course not. She can come through." So she's walking through, and she's standing in a corner, and she's just got her hand on one of the plants. And it was a sad thing to see. But she whispers to me, the lady that worked there whispers to me, she says, 5 years ago, she was an RN. She was a registered nurse. So, I mean, that quickly, and that this is someone that was young, right? So if she was in her late 40s, she was 43, 44 when this thing, took hold. That's early. So whenever I think about this, of course, those memories with Pop are really tough. But we're blessed. I feel we're blessed that it didn't get him till he was a little older. I cannot imagine what people go through and families go through when it's someone that young. But if you were to see this person, this lady in the corner, just kind of touching the plants and looking away and looking here, looking there. And then for this woman to tell me 5 years ago, as recently as 5 years ago, she was a full functioning RN. So, it is a terrible thing, and anything they can do, one day they'll have a cure, one day. But until then, these little remedies or draw anything that can help. And if you can slow down the effects of it, whereas, you can get 18 years of quality time as opposed to 10, why not?
Did you see the movie The Notebook by any chance?
The Notebook?
Yes.
I did.
Okay, because that is a very good movie, but
I
very
did because
sad. And
what lured me into it was that I think McAdams is a gorgeous.
Rachel McAdams, yeah, you
Yeah,
probably did you see her first in Wedding Crashers?
I did not. This is the first time I saw her, and I just looked through these movies, and I went, "Oh Lord, look at!" And then
Yeah,
this
yeah,
then the movie unfolded. I'm like, "Wow, this is it's a dual ticket here." Rachel McAdams is nice to look at, but then I start watching the movie, and I got lured into that too. And yeah, that was I don't care who you are, if that didn't get to you, I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know,
That
yeah.
and then Ryan Gosling was in it. He's excellent. I believe the people who played them as adults or
Well, James Gardner,
elderly. James
James
Garner and
Garner, yeah,
Gina Rowlands.
yeah.
But that movie was just friggin' crazy and just so emotional. And man, what a love story. But obviously it hits home because it has like the dementia aspect. And it's like, oh man, imagine like you love your life. And it's like, ah,
Yeah, and people say, and I have sometimes you get the, oh, that's a chick flick, or now, wait a minute, man, it's well, I'm not afraid to say, yeah, I watched The Notebook, and yeah, it got me emotional, and that doesn't mean, but what the hell, you get some of this, you get some of this, oh, it's a chick flick, and it's not,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
dude, if you can't dig this, if you can't watch this movie, for its value and have a reaction to it. I don't know what to tell, I don't, it's, I just, I don't know. I just can't understand sometimes the way people think in a way. But
And
yeah, that was a great movie.
did you know that Eminem, the rapper, had a song in 2002 off his album The Eminem Show called Sing for the Moment? It's like a tribute, kind of like he samples Dream On by Aerosmith. You have to listen to this song because it's like a modern day, it has the chorus of the same things from the Aerosmith song, but it's Eminem rapping most of the song. And it is very just a great, because rappers do this all the time. They sample old songs and it doesn't always work out well. Gives you some nostalgia. You're like, oh, I like that song. I recognize the beat. I recognize the chorus.
I
It
love,
doesn't always work out, but this one really worked.
yeah, I love when these new cats, right, when they pay homage to the old ones. And I didn't hear this one. I haven't heard that, but I love when newer artists do that and they pay homage. Now, um, talking about rap artists paying homage to older rock musicians, and ironically, it's the same. It's Aerosmith again. Aerosmith had a song called "Walk This Way," and "Walk This Way"
Yep, Run DMC.
was dark. Yeah, Run DMC, and this was back way before. This was back in '87 or '88 when I guess Walk This Way was part of an album in 73, 74. But Tyler said when he said, looking back at it, he didn't know it at the time, but the song itself in 73, when they laid that thing down, it was already a rap song when you really think about it, because it was an upbeat, it was but it had the guitar lick in there too. But yeah, so ironically, yes, I do like when modern artists pay homage to the older ones. And it was just ironic that it was again Aerosmith that came to mind here. But yeah,
I think I saw I know I saw Aerosmith, but I think it was my 19th birthday. My family took us to see Aerosmith, and I brought my best friend Matt. We saw it in Philadelphia. I believe it was the Wachovia Center at the time. Now it's Wells Fargo Center. But Aerosmith was very good live, and the Pretenders opened up for them. I think it was the Pretenders that night. I think because I saw the Who at that venue too, and the Pretenders opened up for somebody. I don't know. I think the Pretenders open up for them, but anyway, the Pretenders are also a hell of a band led by a female singer, and they have a great song, "Stand by You."
yeah,
That song is so emotional.
yeah. Well, the Who. When was this? Because the Who, me, it's the Beatles, Stones, and Who are the big.
Yeah, so I've seen the Who, I've seen Aerosmith. Aerosmith, I know
What year
Aerosmith.
did you see the Who? What year?
Oh, the Who, man.
Around what year?
Uh I feel like I saw the Who around the same time as Aerosmith almost. So that was in the period of like 2005
Oh, okay.
to sometime around 2005 to 2007,
Right.
I
If you
believe.
could have seen the Who in like 1974, 75, 76, I mean, it's just unbelievable. That's to me, the Stones are the alpha and the omega to, I mean, it's to rock and roll. And you asked me a couple of times, hey, they're still touring. Do you want? My nephew asked me a couple of times, hey, look, I want to see the Stones in their heyday. I love the Stones. I listen to music. I think they're the greatest rock and roll band that ever played. Like I said, they're the alpha and the omega, the greatest front man ever in any rock band. But do I want to see them like now? No, I would have loved to have seen them. Unfortunately, I was about 10 years old when, in 1974, when they were, really kick ass. But it's all good stuff. It's all good. Yeah. As a matter of
Uh,
fact, go ahead.
oh no, but continue your thought.
Matter of fact, I mean, the Who in 1977 or 78 or 79, I can't remember exactly when, but they had an incident in Cincinnati where the crowd was so riled up that a couple of people were stampeded, and they lost a couple of lives. I mean, the Who felt terrible about it. They didn't, but it's just one of those things that they were, such high energy and such hype. And you can look it up. I can't remember. It was late 70s, but it was one of those things. And something like that just recently happened too at a concert. I think it was over in Korea. But, sometimes concerts are great, but if the crowds get out of hand and get too overhyped, it's hard to imagine people getting stampeded to death, but it happens.
That's very rare. That's
Yeah.
one of the things we are talking about earlier, the worrying thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
idea of worrying and not going to a social event or going out and having like a lifetime memory because you're worried about the worst case scenario of like being trampled. Like that's like extreme worry. You know what I mean?
That would be, yeah. Um,
Um, but while we're on the, I guess we're on the, I brought him up before, but we're talking about different things and um, our fathers and whatnot. Howard Stern's dad passed away, but he told Howard when he was younger, he was like, I don't need a college education. All I need to do is read the New York Times front to back every morning, and that's my college education. And the farther I get from college, because I have a political science and philosophy degree from Villanova University. Um, and the farther I get from college, I can't help but think, because I have also a subscription to the New York Times, that is so accurate. Just being able to read an intelligent paper like the New York Times and
right.
understand the current stories, that's
Right.
that's better education than what you're actually learning in school. I mean, I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that? Just reading like legit news sources and learning about the world and what's going on. Because I know you watch the news every night at like 11. Um, that seems like I get more value out of the news stories I read, especially the New York Times, than like the stuff I learned in college is, a lot of it's forgotten.
A lot of it is forgotten. I think college it's just one of there has to be some kind of a weeding out process. It's sort of like social Darwinism on a smaller scale. But you have to have a situation where, and I love everybody, but I mean, look, I'm not qualified to be a surgeon. You want me applying at the hospital for a surgeon job? No. Well, did you meet the criteria? What is the
Well, yeah,
criteria?
for
But
jobs for
right, you
jobs like
have to
that,
have,
yeah.
right. And for just for basic, you have, and
But
even
that's also
along the way,
graduate. That's graduate school, like specific tailored skill set. I'm talking about just like the everyday
let me,
overall intelligence.
I know, but you have to have something. People have to earn their way here and there. You have to have some kind of a process. So college is good in that way, Sean, but I agree with you. Okay. Let me get to roundabout. I do agree with you that in the end, and I've said this a long time ago, that at the end of the day, we're all pretty much self-taught, right? It was going to, and you learn this in college as well, is that you come home, you take your notes in class, you crack open that book and you read the chapter and you highlight it and then you make your own notes and you're self-taught. I mean, that you have to be able to, and I think that's all he was trying to say as well, is that he reads this paper and if he didn't understand something, he would go find out. So but it's in that not knowing and going to finding out, that's called learning, right? But I think we're all self-taught at the end of the day. And yeah, a lot of the content A lot of the content that we have to study for, in college and so forth, a lot of the content falls by the wayside, but it's the habits that you get into, the reading, the writing, the comprehension, the what to do if you don't understand something, how to use your resources to learn about it. I think we're all self-taught. And so I do agree with the majority of what you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's one of those things where like if you're existing in the world and you're have intelligent friends and you're having good conversations, you're not going to be talking about like stuff you learned in like classes in college, maybe sometimes, but a
Right.
lot of times it's like, what do you bring to the table? Did you read a lot, did you read a lot of news articles that week? And like now you're educating your friends, and then they're going to take that what they learned from you and then talk to their friends, and they might get interested in something that you said. It just sparks something when you start reading these like really news articles, these current events. And I don't know, I just feel like that's really just a way to maintain your intelligence as you get older, especially after college.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I also agree with there are a hell of a lot of people that are extremely, extremely intelligent who just, for whatever reason, never had the opportunity, the means to go to college or whatever. So a lot of times, I think you have to be really short-sighted,
Yeah.
really myopic to think, well, he's not smart. He didn't go to college. That's
Well,
pretty myopic.
you
That's the
know,
statement itself. The notion itself isn't real smart. I mean, you have to understand, we all, and I'm sure you understand this too. There are a lot of people that just never had the opportunity for whatever reason to attend college, but their native intelligence is off the charts. A lot of
yeah,
people.
and it's funny you say that because a lot of intelligent people and like creators of these big companies like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, they're college dropouts, and they weren't, I mean, they're smart people, but then there's other like savants. Just to continue with the theme, I guess, because I've been listening to a lot of Howard Stern lately. Quentin Tarantino was on recently, and Howard was asking him about like what kind of student he was, and he was like, "Oh, I was a horrible student." But he did talk about how he liked reading books, and he was always interested in reading. Like he didn't care what they were teaching in school, but he just liked reading his own books.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of intelligent people, they might not excel in school and they might be bored by it, do the whole structure of it and go into class for an hour and then another class and another class and doing the homework. But just give them a book, give them a paper, and let them just, expand their mind and see what flourishes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no two ways about that. I
Yeah.
know one thing I'm worried about, not to change gears, but I'm worried about my Eagles.
Oh,
I'm
so
worried.
you want to talk some football? Okay.
I just figure, yeah, just a little segue from the worrying and everything else, just to lighten things up a little bit. I mean, for Eagle fans out there, we're getting back the big boy in the middle. We're getting him back, not a moment too soon either, because this week we're going to be facing King Henry, and we're going to be facing a team that likes to smash mouth that ball. And this is such an important game. I cannot stress how important this game is, because if you look at the Cowboys schedule from between now and the time we face off on Christmas Eve, and you look at the Eagles schedule for the same time period, this game we could look back on this game and say, there it was. Thank God we won it. Or, oh my God, that's where we lost it. So I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, you guys it's at home. You guys are favored by about 5 points. The Titans are no slouch, no pushover. They're 7-4. Ryan Tannehill is back after, the Malik Willis experiment. I don't want to say it's an experiment because he's a rookie quarterback and he has time to grow, but his short time as a quarterback, and it's only year one. You got to remember, quarterbacks like Troy Aikman was awful. Even Justin Fields was awful, and he had a rebound year this year.
Peyton Manning, I think, threw 18
Yeah.
interceptions
So,
his first year.
but and Trevor Lawrence, he's having Trevor Lawrence apparently is the
Trevor Lawrence.
highest rated quarterback this season, I think.
Woo, did you see that? We'll get into that, but did you see that comeback last week? And every throw down the stretch was perfect.
Yeah, he
And
has
it was
pedigree. He played for Clemson. He's got
ice water in the
titles,
veins too. Yeah.
yeah, he knows he can play at the highest levels. But the Titans having Tannehill, he's a serviceable quarterback. He proved the doubters wrong who hated him in Miami because they wanted him gone. He was always injured. He never performed at what they thought he could perform at. He's kind of revived his career with the Titans. But obviously the Titans rely heavily on King Henry on the running attack. I think the Eagles, is Jordan Davis, I know like he's out, but is he coming back this week or when is he coming back?
I don't think they've made a formal announcement, but what they said, I think the last thing I heard was they think he can be, and they're hoping that he can, and it looks like he can type thing. I would be shocked if because they say he's practicing very, full speed. He's practicing hard, and I think it was one of those good news, bad news. The local reporter said the bad news was that defensive back, he's going to be out with a lacerated kidney, the guy they lost last week in the Packer game. And I still don't know if they have Maddox back yet, and I still don't think they have Goddard back. But the good news was the big boy's going to be back. So I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, because one cool thing that happens during rehab, a guy is injured and he can't exercise that muscle. But what happens with a lot of players is they improve in other areas, that they hone in on certain areas where they weren't able to completely focus on before. So Jordan Davis apparently lost like 20 pounds and he's more nimble now and he's faster. So man, he could be dangerous with extra speed and weight loss.
Yeah, because he was primarily, I mean, he just, look, he was the plug, the fire plug on the best defense, a legendary college defense, the national championship defense, the Georgia Bulldogs last year, right? And that defense was legendary, okay, in a good way. But the knock on him, if there was any knock, was that he was a little too heavy, a little too slow. You trim a little bit of weight off that boy, man, you got a killer. So let's hope. Let's just hope.
Yeah,
How you feeling?
You guys have the early game on Sunday. Got the 1:00 game, so I'm sure we're going to be tuned in for that, man.
Oh, this, like I said to you, that Thanksgiving is right around when football starts. I mean, this is coming down to it now, and it's going to be your boys, and it's going to be my birds, and coming down the stretch here. And these games are critical. And I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, look at your schedule. I don't know how you lose a game other than us.
Yeah, we both have easy schedules. I mean, except we play each other. You know what I mean?
We got Tennessee. That's why I say the Tennessee is no slouch. So we got Tennessee, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty easy. That's why I'm saying it's a variable in there. That you guys do not have a tough game until us. Once we get past Tennessee, we won't have a tough game until you. But these guys, they're always ready for a street fight, that team. You know it. Yeah, and defense has been slouching lately. It's been soft lately in spots.
Yeah.
So
the Cowboys are playing the Sunday night game. I'm pretty pumped for that. The Sunday night game is always fun. Now we got Collinsworth and Tirico because Al Michaels is now on Thursday Night Football for Amazon Prime. But the Colts is not going to be an easy game. I mean, and the Cowboys, literally, they could play anybody. I could see anybody on their schedule. And I as a Cowboys fan, I'm just like totally not confident. I'm like, it's a 50-50. Like, will they show up? Will they not? And I was talking to an Eagles fan at work. He's a hardcore Eagles fan. And he was saying, because I told him my perspective on the Cowboys. I'm like, yeah, we haven't won since 95. We were spoiled, but now we're humbled. We're just happy to be in the race. And, I don't know if we're going to win another Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, that type of thing. And he's like, man, you sound a lot different than all the Cowboys fans I know. He's like, all of them are living off their Super Bowl, and they think even though they're in second place, they're the best team in the league, and they're so cocky. And it's kind of embarrassing for me as a Cowboys fan. I'm like, are we really that arrogant? I mean, how do you, as an Eagles fan, because me, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I don't know if you interacted with other Cowboys fans.
Well,
are we still an arrogant fan base who think we're so better than everyone else?
What you and I have proven to each other is the stereotypes are horseshit, right? So the stereotypes about an Eagles fans being, with their knuckles dragging on the ground and Neanderthals and just total, that's not, that's not true through dialogue with me and from other Eagles fans, right? And what I also found out is that in dealing with you, that some Cowboys fans have their feet on the ground, and they're not as ridiculous as as a lot of them are made out to be. But there is a big faction of Dallas Cowboy fans, Sean, who. And some of them don't even know what the hell a football is even shaped like. They're like, oh, yeah, Cowboy, because they see it on the TV. They see a pretty helmet, and they see this or whatever the hell it is. Or
Didn't
when they were...
you almost got seduced by the Cowboys back in the day? Like, you were almost a Cowboys fan?
Well, it's a funny thing, and I don't like to admit this, but when I was a kid, the Eagles were absolutely, positively lousy. I mean, lousy. And when you're a kid is when you form these things, right? So I'm coming up in the early to mid 70s as a kid, and everyone in our neighborhood did the same thing. We couldn't really root for, as kids. As kids, you don't root for your home team unless they're doing well. If they're every year of your life they suck, what you do is you adopt, quote unquote, a different team, a team that's doing, better. And for a long time, Johnny next door was the Colts. His brother Mike was the Raiders. Stevie across the street had the Rams. I had the Minnesota Vikings, but there was a very short period in there where I was influenced. I can't remember who it was. It was either a kid at school or a kid that I can't remember exactly who it was, but somehow I got a little bit enticed to like root for Dallas a little bit. And again, when you're a young kid, you don't know about, you know, being true to your area as much as when you start to get older. Like, you don't get it. So there was a point where I was starting to maybe thought, what the hell? I see them on TV every week. The uniforms are pretty cool. Christ, excuse me, Jesus, for taking your name in vain. But hell, they win all the time. It looks like it could be fun. And I started to and my brother pulled me aside, knowing better. He was 5 years older than I, which makes him about maybe 15 at the time, 16, and said, hey, listen, would, A, B, C, and D, and our family's from Philadelphia. Your great-grandparents came over here. We lived here. Our dad still works in Philadelphia. We lived in Philadelphia before we moved to New Jersey. All these kind of things, and this is where it is, and you don't do this, you don't do that. And he wasn't playing. He was serious. And I just, okay, all right, bud. All right, I got you. Because he's saying, Joe, you know what? You're going to be blah, blah, blah. And dude, you got to have some allegiance to where you live. And this is where, and I thank God he did. But there was, and then why I mention that to you sometimes is I can see, because I said to you one day, Shawnee, you grew up in North Jersey, brah. How in the name of God did you should be either a Giants or a Jets fan. You grew up in North Jersey. Yeah. I said, how in the hell did that happen? And you said, my dad's influence.
It's simple answer to everyone is my dad, because I always get the look. It's like the look. It's like, oh, what? And then the comments after is like, why are you a Cowboys fan? And it's like, I had to explain my dad was. I grew up on it. I was dressed in their jerseys. And
it's your dad.
I'm just going through the motions of telling the story. It's like, yeah, my dad was a fan, but luckily I was able to go to some Cowboys games as a kid. But if I could choose my team as a kid, I'd probably
you'd be a Giants fan. You'd be a Giants fan.
I don't know if the Giants or the Jets, and
okay,
possibly even the Eagles. I mean, there were some Eagles fans in my area too. I was Central Jersey Shore. But then,
okay. I thought you were
There's also like growing up, because there's so many Cowboys fans across the country and the world. I always did find occasionally Cowboys fans to bond with. But now as an adult, it's just I'm a Cowboys fan. That's my team. But unless I get into like sports broadcasting, and I really can't really have a team because I have to stay neutral. It's not necessarily a rule. But Dan Patrick, one of my other heroes in media. He's from, Ohio, and everyone expects him to be a Bengals fan. And last year when they made the Super Bowl, everyone's like, Dan, are you going to root for the Bengals? What do you think? And the callers are calling and asking him. And I don't know if he was lying. I don't think he was. He's a very honest guy. But Dan was like, no, at this point, I don't have a team. I'm just neutral. It's my job as a sports personality and a broadcaster not to have a team and not to have skin in the game. And, the Bengals, I might for a second get caught up in the moment, but, then I'm back to my sports broadcaster self. And so he really doesn't have any like teams that he like admits to rooting for.
That he admits to. I mean, he's a sports fan, so he's got something.
But I don't know, it's one of those things where I'm going to be a Cowboys fan for life unless, I get into sports broadcasting or something. And like it's one of those things where it's just wise, just, if you want to be neutral and you want to be fair when you're talking in your analysis, to distance yourself from your team. But yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan, and we haven't won in a while, and everyone, the thing when I was younger, it's like, oh, you're a front runner, you only like them because they're winning. And now it's like, I'm not a front runner. We haven't run once since 95, we barely, advanced past the first round of the wild card in the playoffs. We're a struggling franchise and pretty embarrassing in a lot of ways. But obviously it's still cool to have that star. I've been to the new stadium. We actually beat your Eagles at a game I was at in 2010 wild card game. Vic was the quarterback that game. So I saw the Cowboys win a playoff game. So, it's just one of those things, but.
Well, and it was during your formative, not to cut you off, but it was during and again, there's a critical period. The critical period for a lot of this football thing for guys, for us to attach is during, from the time you're 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, from the time you're about 15. It usually happens in there and it's locked in. But I respect the fact that it's your pop, right? It's your pop. And and the reason I bring up my side of it is I almost got lured in my damn self, but thank God I didn't. The light would have come on eventually anyway, and I would have, just, slid over back into place. But I must say this too. And, it's nice. It's refreshing when you and I could talk and we're opposing, but we could talk and respect one another and compliment each other. And because I want to tell you this, I'm a diehard Eagle. I have a tattoo of an Eagles helmet on my left arm. You know that. I mean, I bleed green, right? But I love football. I love football history. I especially love, of course, the history from the 1960s on. The Green Bay Packers. It started with Lombardi and this and that. And the man with the hat, Tom Landry, that man there always had with that iron jaw and that hat, and always come out looking clean in his top coat and his tie. He was always class. He was always all business. He always had winning teams. I don't know if he ever had a losing season. What I'm saying is there was a lot of respect there. I love watching the old NFL films and watching him. Yeah. There's respect there. There's respect for Staubach and everything and all those.
There's a man called John Facenda, and I hear you do a pretty good impression. Can you just quickly do a short John Facenda? He was the voice of NFL films, if our audience doesn't know. And you just do a mini couple sentences in the Facenda voice.
How about, let's say, the Ice Bowl was not just a football game, but a brutal test of manhood that would determine the championship of the National Football League. How's that? That's just for today.
It's good, man.
That's enough for today. I'll get into it some other time. I'll do the Raiders for you. I'll do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but that's all I have. The Autumn Winds one is classic.
The Autumn Wind. Yep. But we'll get into that. I don't want to give it too much at one time. I'll even give you some Too Tall Jones, but a little bit at a time. But
so you were fascinated with Landry and the hat and the history and Lombardi and all that.
Landry as a coach, and then you turn around and Roger Staubach. They could be down 14 points with like a minute and 5 seconds left, and that son of a gun would find a way. He and Pearson would find a way somehow. It was just unbelievable. And as a Vikings fan, I will never forget that Hail Mary, the play that spawned the term Hail Mary came on a play where Staubach had like 4 seconds or something left in the game, and at like midfield, he drops back and he says he just threw the ball up there like to say a prayer, like a Hail Mary. Drew Pearson clearly pushes off the Vikings defender. It wasn't called. He catches the ball at the 3-yard line, backs into the end zone, and the Cowboys win the game. Fran Tarkenton's father was in the crowd that day and suffered a fatal heart attack because of that game. You can look it up. The push off was never called. It wasn't totally, absolutely clear, but it sure as hell looked like he did. He pushed off. And today it looks like if that were today, that would have been called. He pushed off. And anyway, what can I say? It was just one of those things. But my point is, 9 times out of 10, Staubach, if you give him more than a minute, he was like Brady in a sense that you know what's coming. And they were just, look, I hated them, but they were doggone good. They were really, really good. So to me, you have some football teams in the history of my life. You had the Packers. I caught kind of the tail end of that. And the only team to beat the Packers for a championship in the playoffs, right, was the Philadelphia Eagles. In 1960, they beat Vince Lombardi's Packers to win the Super Bowl. Well, they didn't call it the Super Bowl then. It was called the NFL Championship. I mean, the Eagles won 1, 2, 3. They won 3 world championships, but it was before they called it the Super Bowl. So, and what are you going to do? Terminology. But you had the Packers, and then you had the Cowboys, and then you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then you had the 49ers. So, I mean, it's those teams that in my lifetime I look back and say, yeah, they're the kind of organization that we aim to be, that we're.
Yeah. So speaking of organizations that people aim to be, the Cleveland Browns, they signed Deshaun Watson when everyone wouldn't even want to touch him. He's returning this week versus former team in Texas versus the Texans. Do you think Deshaun Watson has suffered enough and paid his dues? 12-game or 11-game suspension, all those fines, the reputation damage. Think he's ready to go? I think you're on mute, Joe. I don't know if we lost Joe there. He might be on mute. So this is live radio, basically.
You with me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you, man. I think you pressed mute.
You know what it is? On my headset, I have a little button on the wire here, and I accidentally pushed it.
Okay, so just
now, have I been on mute long? I hope not.
Yeah, you didn't say anything about Watson. I asked about Watson. I didn't hear you.
Okay, I was just into my third word when you said okay. So with regard to Watson, I don't know what happened in those rooms. I mean, I heard some of the testimony and heard some of this and some of that. I don't know what actually happened. So it's hard for me to tell you, you know, when you ask me, is he ready? Do I think he's ready football wise? I would probably say no. Like, I don't think he's played any live games in like 2 years or whatever it is. So I'd probably not. As far as should he be there? I don't know, because I don't know what happened in those rooms. And some of those,
like, he obviously paid a ton of money in settlements to the women. I guess no one will ever know the real truth, because obviously there's a lot of incentive for women these days to see a rich guy and, jump in on a lawsuit and get the money. But there seems to be a lot of cases and a lot of consistent stories where it leads to that Watson was probably guilty of these accusations. But it's just one of those things. It's like, he didn't like rape a woman, but he certainly manipulated them and took advantage of them in circumstances when he was getting massages, and obviously he's deemed as a creep. But do you think his psyche and his mental makeup is enough for him to continue his career, to continue to flourish and possibly lead the Browns? The Browns are 4-7, so not the playoffs this year, but can he salvage his career? And because he was on the upward mobility or whatever, trajectory to become a top 5 elite quarterback. Can he salvage his career?
I think so. Listen,
he's got enough ability. Like, he's another Clemson quarterback. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence. These Clemson quarterbacks are really, a couple good ones there. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have you think he can, and as judging him as a person, every time you watch him, if he's playing your team, right, and you get angry, at Watson for throwing that touchdown pass to beat your team, are you going to be like, damn, this fucking creep? Why is he? Are you going to take it out of him and get angry?
In anger, I'm liable to say anything. That's why another reason I don't watch football and like, I got to watch where I'm watching. I have to pay attention to where I'm watching the games or whatever. I can snap and say things that I don't mean in anger if my team's losing. And yeah, could that be something where I could utter something to that effect? Yeah, I could. Hey, listen, he's not the first guy. I mean, Roethlisberger was involved in some ugly stuff, right? I mean, what Michael Vick did to me what Michael Vick did to those animals is more abhorrent than anything I've heard from anything, because you're talking about dogs. And I don't want to get into how I feel about dogs. But if I accidentally step on a dog's paw and it yelps, it
Yeah, that's
almost
the
breaks my
worst. That's
heart.
the worst feeling in the world. I've had dogs my whole life, and like
Right.
when that happens, it breaks your heart. You
Yeah,
hear
right. And just
the
doing
whimper.
something like that accidentally, how in the name of God? And I don't even want to get into it. It really is unconscionable. So even when he was here, it was like, yeah, listen. I'm not cool with it ever. I'm just not cool with it. I'm just not. So could this guy, and whatever this guy did with those women, I think at some point he stepped over the line. He used his celebrity to manipulate. And I think he was wrong. In some instances, it wasn't until after everything was done that you know what, this is a really touchy subject. I'm saying the guy's wrong. I don't know the extent to, how wrong he was in certain situations, but he did some really unscrupulous things, and I don't think it's going to bother him though. He just seems like the kind of cat that it's not going to bother. And like I
Well,
said,
one
other
thing
guys have done stuff. So
before this happened, I had respect for Watson as a player and a quarterback, but also I learned about him as a person. There was a woman working for the Texans organization, and he like gave part of his salary to her to help her out. So, he's not all bad. Obviously, he's got
no,
that creepy tendency, and hopefully he learned from his mistakes and can become a better man and better person for it. But he's got he doesn't seem like a total, bad person, right? He's just creepy and he did some weird things and made women uncomfortable. And even if it
yeah.
was consensual, it's just, the idea of a quarterback making millions of dollars, even needing to do that is just
Well,
like, what are you doing?
and he used his celebrity to he said to the one girl, he insinuated to her that, he said to her in so many words, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I have a great deal of my name and everything. And if I post that you were really a good masseuse, that could really help your career. He says, on the other hand, if I post that you were this or you were that or you weren't good, that could really hurt your career. So if you don't really kind of acquiesce to whatever I'm asking you to do here today, that could hurt your career, honey. So stuff like that. And then he,
Yeah, that's
and when those young ladies were so upset that uh, they had involuntary bodily functions happen, that they were so emotionally upset that, read the reports, that they couldn't control their bladder or this kind of thing, and they did all. I mean, when someone's that upset, something went. But there again, at some point, maybe if you're really scared, you run out of the room. I don't.
yeah.
I don't know what happened in
I
those
I
rooms.
mean, you never know because they're looking at dollar signs when they're involved in a lawsuit, so they could have embellished, and you'd like to think they wouldn't lie under oath. And this is not me giving Deshaun Watson the benefit of the doubt. I'm simply trying to view it from an objective point of view and think about the motivation of so many women accusing him. And we all don't know the facts, but let's put that Watson thing to bed for now. I do want to talk about my most recent bad gambling beat. So I bet on the World Cup yesterday. I had
Mm-hmm.
a free $50 bet. They gave me a free. These companies give you free bets because they know it's going to draw you in. You're going to want to bet more. It's the name of the game to get more money, to get more of your money, pretty much. You're the betting company's like targets, pretty much. That's how they make their bones, right? But I did a fun parlay. I did Costa Rica and Japan. So Japan to beat Spain and Costa Rica to beat Germany. And it was
Okay.
a $50 bet, free bet, and I would have won $10,000. And I'm thinking it's just a long shot. It's for fun. I'm working that day. I'll get the updates on the game. It could be amazing. It could be like winning the lottery in a weird way to like win crazy bet like that. A long shot. The odds were like plus 11,000. The odds are crazy, right? But the first like 15 minutes of the game, both teams were losing 1-0, and I'm like, oh my god, the bet's pretty much done. But then like in the 60th minute, I'm getting texts from like my aunt who likes to gamble, and I'm getting texts from friends and they're like giving me updates in the game, and I'm getting updates on my watch, and it says like Costa Rica is like they were winning, and then Japan was winning, and I'm like, oh my god, I might win $10,000. But then Japan ended up winning, but then Costa Rica ended up losing by like 2 goals. But for like 5 or 10 minutes, I thought I won $10,000, and that's just gambling. The highs and lows. When you win, it's amazing. That would have been a phenomenal. That would have been my best gambling win ever. And I did it as a long shot, but I really should have done the day before. I had a weird feeling late at night about Australia. I'm like, what? They're an underdog, but they could win. So I should have used that free $50 bet to bet on Australia. They played Denmark and Tunisia played France. I should have done Australia and Tunisia because that probably would have netted the same winnings. But that's the bad gambling beat of the week. As far as Villanova basketball goes, I'm just disgusted with Villanova basketball right now. That's, basically my sports religion is Villanova basketball. I went there as a student. The basketball team is my obsession, my number one sports.
Not having a good year, are they?
You kind of got a little bit mean today. You said they sucked this year. They lost their last 5, but you have to realize, Joe, we're missing a potential top 5 NBA lottery pick next year. His name is Cam Whitmore. He's a freshman, but he broke his thumb or something.
Oh, okay.
So he's been out. So if we had him for any of these games, a lot of these games were pretty close. They weren't all like blowouts or anything.
Right. I wasn't trying to be
and
mean
they were versus,
either.
like decent teams, except we played Portland, the Portland Pilots, and I'm not saying they're bad. They have a lot of international foreign players, but it's a team we should beat. And it was also in Portland. It was we played a tournament in Portland. But if we had Cam Whitmore and we had Justin Moore, one of our best players is supposed to be an All-American is Justin Moore. He's like a senior this year, but last year versus Houston, at the end of the Houston game in the Elite Eight, he ruptured his Achilles right before the Final Four. So that was a devastating injury. So a lot of people who don't really follow basketball that closely in college basketball will think, oh, Villanova's off this year. Jarrett retired. They have a new coach, Neptune. He sucks so far. The team's awful. Not the case. We're just young. We're growing. A lot of guys aren't ready for the spotlight. They're like number 2 and 3 options, if that. And if Cam Whitmore and Justin Moore are there, they'd be the number 1 and 2 options interchangeably. And we'd be a lot better ball club. But
good deal. I want to ask you a question. That's good. And I'm with you for Villanova. I got you. You'll go all night if I let you with Villanova. But I just want to, and it's cool. I want to ask you about the soccer game tomorrow.
Okay. USA Netherlands, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Be up for that. Who
wins this game?
My heart's going with the U.S. and Christian Pulisic, their best player, the goal scorer, when they advanced last game, when they played Iran. Mm-hmm. He's playing tomorrow. I'm feeling good. I don't think Netherlands is that great. They don't have a lot of recognizable names to me. I know they have a lot of great international players, but their best forward is this guy like Gakpo or something like that. And I really don't know a ton about him, but he's been scoring some goals. I think the USA advances tomorrow. I think they win. I don't know. We dominated England. That's the thing. Everyone thought England was going to trounce us. But we dominated England. From what I watched, the eye test was like, man, we look way better than England. They might have the better players. They have all these Premier League players, including Harry Kane. But we really dominated them. Just seeing that really woke me up. And also gave me hope seeing that the starting 11 for the U.S., because 11 people start in soccer, including the goalie, none of them are MLS players. And if we don't have any MLS players and they're all international, they have the pedigree and they're all getting experience playing at the highest level across the world, especially Pulisic playing for Chelsea.
Right.
There's no reason why we can't carry momentum and beat the Netherlands tomorrow. So I'm confident.
All right. I hope you're
right.
I'm
going to be up bright and early for that game. I'm probably going to watch part of it at the gym. I'll probably watch part of it on the elliptical or the Stairmaster or the bike or, because that's also a fun thing to do. Anybody who's listening who likes to work out and says they get bored in the treadmill and stuff, throw on sports or throw on a movie. But even when you're watching like sports, I would say maybe not baseball because baseball is really slow. But if you're watching football and you see a guy like a running back run for like a 70-yard touchdown, you see a basketball player slam dunk, you see a soccer player score an amazing goal, it gives you such natural adrenaline and really ups your workout. So anybody looking for some workout tips, that helps. But yeah, Joe, to answer your question, I'm gonna be watching. I think they're gonna win. So are you confident? I know you're not a soccer guy, but your heart's gonna say yes, but what's your gut feeling? Do you think the US wins?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I would love to see them win. When you say Netherlands to me, I mean, you're just talking about, the it sounds like a tough bunch. The Germans, the Netherlands, in that region. You're just talking about, talk about kids I mean, that's all they do. That's their sport, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
football. It's
pretty much
football for
it.
them. It's called
It's all,
football.
it's the one thing, you know what I mean? They from the time they're 2 years old, they're kicking a grapefruit around. I mean, but maybe I'm overthinking it. I want to tell you what. I'm going to go because I don't watch enough pro soccer. I played when I was younger. I loved the game, but I don't watch enough of it. That's why I ask you, because I know you follow more closely. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say we win the thing 2-1.
Cool. Okay, cool.
2-1.
And we're gonna wrap up the show here pretty soon, but can you quickly summarize any meal that you ate this week? Because the audience loves when you describe your food. Is there anything unique or anything different that you deviated with your meals this week?
Nah, I'm light on that subject. It's been a boring week, and maybe I'll have something for you. I'll have something for you next time, but that's been a boring week. And I'm glad that everybody
cliffhanger for the audience. We'll hear more about your meal Monday night.
Yeah, I think everybody will survive until then.
So do you have anything else to share or anything to say before we wrap this up?
All I could say is it's December. We're going to revisit some holiday thoughts and concepts and emotions and things like that as we go. Everybody, peace be with you.
Cool. So I'm happy everyone's listening. Happy we have continued, consistent audience, because I get feedback from friends and family, and it's just really heartwarming to hear, because, we're enjoying doing this. We love doing this. It's a new passion project. It's a hobby, but I think me and you are doing a good job. I know people are like, don't say you think we're doing a good job. It sounds amateur, and like, don't say this. But we're just open and honest with you guys. We're just two normal guys who met and decided to start a podcast, and we're trying our best at it. We're trying to produce a great product and quality product. So if you can rate our show 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, add it to your library so you get all the updates when the new shows as soon as it's released. And I want to say Spotify, Apple, and TuneIn Radio, and I'm glad everyone's listening. And
I want to say to anybody listening, thank you. We're glad you're listening to us. We value you, and we thank you.
Sounded a little bit robotic, but I know exactly what you're saying, and I know exactly how you feel. We're doing our best, and hopefully every show is better than the last.
And the topics stay fresh. For listening. Is that robotic enough? Come on now. Get out of here.
Yeah. So anyway, everyone have a great night, great day, great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out.